How many of us would like to just simply retreat to some beautiful paradise somewhere, to get away from all the growing chaos and fears of this ungodly world? Well, that's exactly what the Puritans did when they left a similarly ungodly, oppressive Europe hundreds of years ago. They risked everything they had, including their very lives, to come to the shores of America because they heard that there was no tyranny in this new world for those who only wanted to worship the God of the Bible in peace. They found a very undefiled world when they got here, and had perhaps even had a serene and pristine view from their first makeshift homes, not much different than the one we show an imaginary cabin view of right here. Their first settlements were likely in places that were absolutely breathtaking, a satisfying part of their overall reward for being faithful to the Father in their efforts, would you not say? And even though the continents are all spoken for, there is still a way that we can make a similar dream come true for us and our children. The answer is in the Bible, and the power in the hands of a God that is faithful to those that follow Him with pure hearts. Hi, this is Dwayne Moore, and this is the New American Puritan Bible Study Series, Study Number 2. How pure should Puritans be? Let me first begin by reminding some of the new folks that the Bible was the source of the Puritans' faith and hope, where the Reformation of their day was a very fresh and exciting blessing for them all. They focused their lives and ways of purity around the Bible and central passages like this one. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. They then approached all of the world around them with the understanding that the Father had created the entire world with those of us in it, expecting the wiser of us to pay heed to how His plan was already perfectly laid out for all of us. And so a regimen of discipline and protocol was to be taught and shared with all of any society of Puritans that they, and ourselves today, must train ourselves up in if we want to share in the fruits of what we see coming in the Scriptures for those who are walking in a purity of Yahweh's will for our lives. But the question that many seem to have today is in knowing just how badly we've been deceived into the many endless enslavement ties that they've devised for us over the centuries since the days of the first Puritans. Many of us are aware of the passages that tell us to come out from among them, and that those of us without the mark of the beast will not be able to buy and sell, etc. So how far do we go to be considered within the Father's realm of purity and faithfulness as true believers? How do we get ourselves untangled? Well, due to the short length of these studies, let's get right to the Bible then, and passages that might shed some light on how much we should apply a good heartfelt conscience of purity to our walk of faith. And we'll begin with Isaiah 33, 14 through 17, which I feel is a good place to start, by the way, as it was the very passage that triggered my own conscience and started me on my own journey in having stepped out from their very beast system some years back now. Well, here's the passage. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites. This is the story about how we're seeing the truth right now. This is taking place as we speak. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? The new fire of the Father's word coming out all around us. Jeremiah 23, Is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? Now here's the part that got me. He that walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly, he that despiseth the gain of oppressions, that shaketh his hands from the holding of bribes. I don't want them. That stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood. No, I won't be a part of that. And shutteth his eyes from seeing evil. I'm not going to help you with that one, pal. You're not going to catch me with you guys. He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. I mean, he's going to be sure-footed. He's going to have solid stuff to stand on. Bread shall be given him. His waters shall be sure. He'll have nothing to worry about. Thine eyes shall see the king in his beauty. He's going to have salvation. They shall behold the land that is very far off. In other words, he's going to foresee it coming. He'll have good foresight. He'll have a good understanding and a grasp of eschatology as well, I believe. Well, it made perfect sense for me. Those of us that don't want anything to do with the gain of oppressions, I just never felt right about it. My conscience wouldn't allow me to do that because I knew that there was too much being taken away from my brothers all over this nation. The taxes were too high. The system was getting too oppressive. I've known this for mostly all my life. And I'm a kind of an older guy, okay? So I knew right away something was making me feel very comfortable with reading this passage many years ago, to a point where I said, okay, I got to go all the way with this. And I got to come completely out of the system. At this time, we were learning about the straw man stuff and things of that nature. I wanted out. And a lot of people today are doing that, getting back into a free man movement kind of a thing. Even if it's not biblically inspired, people still want out of the system, which is a good thing. The next verse that then agrees with this attitude of wanting to be distanced from the taking of gifts that were forcefully gathered from the oppressed is this one from the story of Nehemiah and the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. Keep in mind that the people of the time were under a similar oppression as we are right here in America right now, as we then take up the way Nehemiah hears of the people who would now be under his rule as they rebuilt the wall. Quote, "And there was a great cry of the people. There were also that said, We have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and vineyards." They mortgaged them. "Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants." Sound familiar, 1933? "And some of our daughters are brought unto bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and vineyards." And Nehemiah is talking here. He says, "And I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers." And he goes into the details of how he does that. We'll pass that part up. But also I shook my lap and said, "So God shake out every man from his house and from his labor that performeth not this promise." In other words, he's going to clean house. Okay? "Even thus be he shaken out and emptied." And all the congregation said, "Amen," and praised the Lord. Praised Yahweh, okay? And the people did according to this promise. They knew he was there to help them, and he was going to do it the right way. Now continue, and you'll see how. He had the right attitude here. "Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, from the 20th year, even unto the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, the king, that is 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten the bread of the governor." In other words, they refused all the gratuities that was presented to them by the social structure of that king at the time, who were oppressing them. "But the former governors that had been before me were chargeable unto the people, and had taken of them bread and wine, beside 40 shekels of silver, yea, even their servants bare rule over the people. But so did not I, because of the fear of God. Yea, also I continued in the work of this wall, neither bought we any land, and all my servants were gathered thither unto the work. Moreover, there were at my table 150 of the Jews and rulers, besides those that came unto us from among the heathen that are about us." From the heathen, those were people that came to help build the wall. They were, I guess, paid servants by these folks. "Now that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox and 6 choice sheep. Also fowls were prepared for me, and once in 10 days store of all sorts of wine." So he's given an account of the stuff that was given to him, but it was given to him by all those that are working to do this the right way. He's refusing all the gratuities from the government system. And he's working with just the people that want to do this the right way, with the provisions that the Father's providing for them. Keep that in mind. "Yet for all this required not I the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon this people." Very important to understand that. There were a lot of poor people there that were so poor they were getting beat up real bad by the oppression because of the circumstances. Just like we have similar situation here in this country. So far we are seeing that we ought, as good brethren, not want anything to do with the taking of the fruits of our brother's labors, if it is offered us by those that oppress the lot of us, as this is a system of bribery to entice those who would take the higher positions for a greater piece of the pie, so to speak. Okay? We are also seeing that the first ones that should be setting this example of staying clear of all these bribery benefits should be those who are claiming to be these men of God, the men who are professing to have the heart of God, and therefore shouldn't want to oppress the people anymore that is already taking place by those, especially who are allowing the gain of oppression to outweigh their consciences. Which this leads us to our next passage, which is this one, Psalm 62:10. "Trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. Whew. Uh-oh. I see some people squirming in their seats out there. Okay, have we not all learned by now that the entire system of this global government scheme that is oppressing us is nothing more than a huge system of organized robbery, shrouded in religious and political sheepskin? As we can see to this point, then, there is little that we can say to allow us to think that our hearts should in any way continue to seek any of these benefits that are born of the slave-based labors of our similarly oppressed brother. But there are many who won't see the connection between today's government programs and what is being said in these verses, due to a blindness of heart that the Father is also sending upon the unsaved and lukewarm right now. For now, let's go to the book of Exodus, where in the days prior to the Israelites coming out of Egypt, they were graciously being called out of their Egyptian captivity to follow Moses to the land of milk and honey. But there was a planned testing stop at a place called Mount Sinai, where Yahweh would prove the people. It was at this little stopover that the Father was rightfully enraged as the people had built themselves a golden calf while Moses wasn't watching. Okay? Which, of course, that was a great sin. We all know that. The Levites under Moses' command then slayed about 3,000 that day. But the rest of multiple thousands awaited judgment for their part in this sinful activity, where the Father shortly thereafter then had all the people, quote, cast off all their ornaments, unquote, Exodus 33:5. Which symbolized the comforts and luxuries they basically had brought with them as memorabilia from their Egyptian government. But anyway, here the Father is forcing them to take these ornaments and cast them away in a partial show of his judgment to come. And we can see further evidence that these were idolatrous trinkets and idols of some fashion, where in Ezekiel 20 it's covered again, where we can see a better picture of this part of the story as it begins here in verse 6. In the day that I lifted up mine hand unto them, to bring them forth of the land of Egypt into a land that I had espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, then said I unto them, cast ye away every man the abominations of his eyes, and defile not yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God, I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. But they rebelled against me, and would not hearken unto me. They did not every man cast away the abominations of their eyes, neither did they forsake the idols of Egypt. Then I said, I will pour out my fury upon them, to accomplish my anger against them in the midst of the land of Egypt. We ever wonder why they were forced to wander around for 40 years? It took them 40 years to get rid of all their idols and all their trinkets, the things they were supposed to be letting go of, okay, to show that they had faith in the Father. But in the meantime, the picture that I have hopefully shown here is that the Father gets jealous when we try to hang on to the benefits and trinkets come of the evil men that had been oppressing us. And is clearly not going to allow such folks to so easily leave their struggles until their lives have been made completely pure once more. Does that maybe give you a little thought why the Puritans came completely away from Europe, risked their lives to come over here to get completely away from that system? But my question here to the viewer is this. How soon do you want to come out of this oppression? This year? 10 years from now? 40 years from now? The sooner we completely let go of all that had been oppressing us, or that were benefits to us under this system, the sooner the Father is going to allow us to inherit the kingdoms of the earth. So, who out there would like to contribute? Somebody on the line would like. What would you be afraid of letting go of? Who out there would like to comment?
Well, I think the toughest part to let go would just be the employment part. Just being able to get a job. That's, for me, that would be the toughest part to let go.
Well, I don't expect it's going to be very easy for any of us. And thank you, Jonathan, for your input there, and thanks for being on the call this tonight. But, folks, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. The leaders of these churches, our ecclesias, need to start stepping out first and start making the examples. I've done it, and some others have done it. The rest of these churches, if they're not doing it, maybe something's wrong there. We need to come out from among them and be separate and show the world we don't want to be a part of this evil system anymore. Thank you, folks, for being with us. This is Dwayne Moore, Biblical Correctness Ministries, and we'll see you again on the rebound, I guess, next time. Yahweh bless you all. Bye-bye.
The love of Yah is so